Hey guys, the stream is about to start a little bit. I'm just setting my station up, so we'll get ready to go in a little bit here, guys. All right, we are live on Friday night stream. We're gonna do just a few minutes early tonight because I kind of set up pretty early. So today we're gonna do Friday Free Thinking live, and I think it's a good time to talk about this situation, even though I thought about maybe not touching on this subject. But for those of you who are interested in just kind of hanging out with me tonight, doing a little bit of farming, chatting about life, stuff that's going on in World Visions, or stuff that's going on in life, you know, you can just ignore the kind of maybe the first part of it all, because the first part is generally speaking where I would like to talk about the Friday Free Thinking. And slowly I'm making my videos to be integrated with the stream on Friday because one, it's a little bit easier for me to do, obviously, and also it makes it easier for the community to kind of engage, because that gives them a sense of engagement, gives them a sense of participation if they join the stream, and therefore they can kind of engage in the conversation of the Friday Thinking episodes. But in the future, that doesn't guarantee that it's going to be set in stone in terms of what I do on the channel. There may be topics, conversations where I just feel like rambling by myself and not have actual conversation with people, and maybe continue that conversation through that stream later that evening, or just through the comments section below. What happened to long hair? Going back to the army? Tao. Yeah, that long hair was getting in the way. And ironically, I cut my hair on Lunar New Year's, which I was told, well, actually I learned that it's not a good idea to cut your hair on Chinese New Year. But hopefully that doesn't have any superstitious effects on what I do in my life. But a lot of people believe in superstition. So today, let's go ahead and start a topic of conversation, and that is the Duane situation. So many of you guys probably learned by now that Duane is showing up on the JP version of the game, and I really want to kind of make sure that I don't step on thin ice here by engaging myself in this conversation, because a lot of you guys know there are a little bit of, I guess you could say, bad air, if you would, between people who think global players feel entitled, jump to the conclusions, things like that. And obviously I'm part of that situation in which I am only playing the global server, right? So I don't really, you know, try to engage myself in too many of those conversations. One being the most recent one where there were talks about potential conspiracy, if you will, about the summoning rates. And I told myself I didn't want to get engaged in that conversation, so I did not. But this does make a very interesting topic, and that is, since JP did get Duane recently, does that mean that the word exclusive is simply ignored on global? And I think that's what this Friday Free Thinking is about. Like, should we as global players overthink the situation, or just take it as it is? You know, on the surface that, hey, JP players are entitled to have characters and whatnot that are released on global, even though the company stated exclusively, and I use that word, right, exclusively, that the character will be for global only. So let's go ahead and talk about that. How does this work? Imagine this, right? Imagine this. I'm going to start off with an analogy. Imagine you're rich and you're happy with your life, and you went ahead and bought a Lamborghini. And when you step into the dealership, the salesperson said, hey, by the way, I know you're interested in the Lamborghini. Let's go ahead and take a look at this new model, 2022 model. Isn't even out yet, guys, to the world. And we're only making 100 exclusive, 100 of these cars exclusively for people who are into Lamborghinis. So you, with lots of money in your pocket, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this car, right? There's only 100 made in this world. Why wouldn't I buy this? So you buy the car, you're happy, you're driving down the road. You know, maybe a couple of months later, you drive by this exclusive car shop dealer, kind of like a car show. And all of a sudden you see more than 100 of your car. So of course, the next day you drive back to the Lambo dealer and you say, hey, what happened here? I thought you guys only offered 100 exclusive cars. And then they're like, oh, no, we decided we're going to release another 200,000 of that model. And you thought to yourself, well, I thought I was part of the exclusive club, you know, the 100 club. And it turns out there was nothing exclusive about it. And I'm beginning to think that's how the global players are feeling at this point. Now let's go ahead, before we dive deep into this situation, let's go back in time and figure this out, okay? First and foremost, when Duane was released on global, it was clearly stated, I don't have a screenshot, but I would show you guys, I have one. It was clearly stated that it was a global exclusive. Now I don't know about you, but when I think of the word exclusive, I think of it not available anywhere else, right? That's usually what a word exclusive means. So when they allow players to spend, I believe it was $48 outright to buy Duane. Essentially, you're asking people to shell out real cash to purchase a unit that when they open up their wallet, they thought to themselves, I am on the boat of getting an exclusive vehicle, right? Exclusive vehicle. So exclusive Lamborghini, right? But instead, a few months later, you found out that word was thrown into the garbage can very quickly. And I think at this point, people have the right to be a tiny bit upset. Maybe not over the top about, you know, jumping and screaming, but I think we have the right to kind of be a little irritated. Like, I personally didn't get into that whole exclusivity situation, right? I didn't think about it because I didn't want the character. He didn't appeal to me, even though he looked kind of cool. Like, I just didn't feel like I needed another slash unit on my team. And turns out a lot of people were saying he's really not that good. Turns out maybe he was a meme. And happy Friday, Beer. Oh, I'm sorry. Happy Friday, Bear. I apologize. Happy Friday. And actually, Koi, by the way, how you doing, buddy? You make a very good analogy. For those of you who play Magic the Gathering, it is a MTG reserve list all over again. And essentially, if you don't know what MTG is Magic Gathering is a card game. And there were a lot of good cards they actually put on the reserve list. The company stated they would never reprint those cards in any way, shape, or form. So this is essentially a violation of our trust. Like, if you think about it and you want to just kind of end this conversation right at this moment, just say Gumi and Square Enix essentially threw that word trust out of the window with the global player base. And I know there's been people defending what Gumi and Square has been doing. They've been defending on the idea that global players are jumping to conclusions and that we tend to get irked about certain situations and whatnot. And I get it. The whole thing about the summoning numbers, I feel like there were folks who did jump to conclusions and essentially try to stir up a hornet's nest when it turns out to be nothing. Like, all of a sudden you got all these angry hornets and they have no one to sting, so they go back to the nest and they hang out. It made us look kind of bad, right? I agree to a certain extent. But I feel like this situation kind of like make me a little irritated. Like, it's like literally you're rubbing something in the global player's face. Like, it's like saying we're not spending enough, or they don't really care about us that much, perhaps. I don't really know. Like, people are more than welcome to draw their own conclusions in this situation. But I feel like as a content creator representing global players, not necessarily as a manager or a representative per se, but just representing me creating content and having a voice, I feel like this was kind of done wrong to us, right? If you think about it, those people who spend $47 outright to buy the character and subsequently spend perhaps even more money to purchase the shards to finish that unit, and now we're playing competitively with that unit in arena, in class match, whatever, right? Guild Wars. How does that make you guys feel? Like, doesn't that irritate you? The fact that they took the word exclusive and kind of just used it very loosely at this point. Like, how am I supposed to ever trust anything that comes out on global promising me that is something exclusive? Now, you have to keep this in mind though. Something like this is not necessarily the best analogy in terms of what I use for the Lambo. Because while you're driving the Lambo and you're trying to show off your wealth and your, bragging rights, if you will, and you see another Lambo driving down the street, at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference. It's just rich people having first world problems. And essentially, this situation, kind of in the similarity, is working the same way. Like, we wanted bragging rights to have Duane as our exclusive unit on global. But technically speaking, Duane, in my opinion, isn't something that to really write home about, right? I mean, like, I face him. The only time I would actually potentially lose to him is if he actually perhaps get the disable off. Other than that, he doesn't really do anything funky to me. He is kind of tanky. He does take a lot of hits to kill if you build him properly with the right support. But is he really worthy of that title exclusivity, right? If he isn't, then why did they even give us that notion that he is a global exclusive? 3-4 months later down the road, they removed that word essentially and released him on JP server. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that is the same. I'm sorry. There's a lot of morons that drive through my neighborhood with their muscle cars, whatever. So I apologize for that. So here's what I found out, of course. I'm sure you guys all found out the same way. Apparently, Duane was put on a poll that what did the players want as a player, a unit they wanted to see, and apparently Duane won. So here's my counterpoint to that. If you make Duane an exclusive unit on a different server of the same game, why would you even release him as a unit you can vote on? Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense, right? Kito made a very good point there. Fryevia was, in fact, the very first global exclusive, and she was never released in JP. Now, if you think about it, do I really care about the word exclusive anymore? I really don't. And so why make them exclusive? Make him limited time. Here's the thing. If they never made him limited time, like where I can just farm him regularly, as long as I was able to summon him, right? Here's the way it works. If they did Duane say, well, this is a limited time exclusive unit, get your hand on it as fast as you can, so people are dropping $200, $300, $500 on him. But if they just said, here's an exclusive unit, but you can farm his shards anytime, every time, but you just need to get that first copy, and they sell it for $48. Maybe if I was one of those spenders, I wouldn't really care about it that much, because I could leisurely farm the shards and kind of get him where I need him to be. And even when EX25 comes around, I can still get him to level 120 at my own rate. But that's not what happened, was it? They made him, advertise him as a limited time unit exclusively for the global server. And boom, a few months later, a poll comes out, JP players get access to this unit. It just kind of seemed a little wonky in terms of their advertisement and their marketing strategies. I get it. If global players are spending less money than JP players and they want to kind of show that appreciation to JP players, then the simple fix would have been never release the word exclusive. Because essentially you're alienating folks potentially. And put it this way, even if you're making less money on the global server and you're making way more money on the JP server, is it really worth taking the risk to lose completely all your player base on global, which essentially means if you're making $1 on JP and you're making 25 cents on global, you're willing just to throw away that 25 cents to keep making that $1? Like, to me, logically, math, that doesn't add up. Essentially, what you need to do is keep the $1 people happy and then try to increase that 25-cent spending to 50 cents. Then you're making $1.50. Now you potentially can only make $1 instead of $1.25. I mean, that's just my 2 cents because, like I said, I'm not a marketing major, I'm not a business major, but from the simplicity perspective, this doesn't seem right. Like, what kind of person would validate the go-ahead to pull the trigger on the JP server, right? Like, I don't get it. It's kind of funny, like, we did talk about the word cash grab. I think we can go back and reanalyze the word cash grab. Like Cabbage, I kind of wish Cabbage tonight would join us, right? It's right now a Saturday afternoon in Japan. If he's not working, I actually hope he does join us in this conversation, maybe. Did you already discuss how they showered Duane's shard cost on JP? No, I did not. Did they lower their shard cost on that? That's kind of irking. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we need to kind of like. That's the thing. Like, JP player even complained that Duane was trash, right? I did hear that. Some people say it was trash. But here's the way I'm looking at it. Like, exactly. So everybody with any brain activity that's functioning at the percentage that we're told that is supposed to function, understand that we've been duped. And that is probably the nicest way for me to say this, okay? Regardless if I spend money on Duane, it doesn't make any difference. Being labeled as part of a global player base, part of a global community, we have to stand up to the companies and tell them that it is not right. That it's not right to play with our emotions and our money, because we are customers just the same. Imagine this. Let's go ahead and start another analogy. Imagine there's two restaurants, right? Imagine there's a restaurant that is the main restaurant that started the chain. You know, the restaurant, they're just making tons of cash and they're just selling great food, great service. People love it. They decide to open up another restaurant, maybe in a different neighborhood. And all of a sudden, the culture in this different neighborhood is a little bit different than the first restaurant. So you're going to get different clientele. You're going to get people with different perspectives of life. And all of a sudden, you're serving the same food, and then you create specials designed just for us, as so you claim, so you sell it to us. And then later, you find out that the main branch is getting the same, and they don't even use the word special, and they sell at a cheaper price. That's exactly what's going on, right? We thought maybe we were getting the exclusive food that we're getting in this restaurant only that we like to dine in. And by the way, we have the options to dine at both restaurants. Just saying, like, we have the option to become Japanese players on the Japanese server. Because honestly, if you play global in English or any other language, you know exactly where the menus are. You know exactly what's going on in the game. It doesn't really make any difference from a animation perspective. The languages make no difference because it doesn't make any difference. You already know what buttons to press when you're playing the game, right? So it definitely makes zero sense to alienate a large population of players on a game that you're releasing two separate servers on. And I get it that originally we're trying to change things for global, right? For example, they gave us that one card, which by the way, I still don't have, right? They gave us that one card in which to increase luck. So you made essentially the evasion meta a viable thing on global, which is something that wasn't really viable on JP because a lot of players couldn't afford to get that card. It was a very exclusive, I believe, Valentine's Day only card. So right there, you are redefining the game in that sense. Personally, I don't really care how they do it. If they want to give us certain units or certain cards and give Japan certain cards and certain units. What I'm interjecting here today in this topic conversation is just don't try to treat us like we're morons. Don't dupe us. Don't do that. Don't do the bait and switch. Essentially, this was a bait and switch. Transparency, honesty is such an important thing as a human being. I don't care what it is that you do in life. As a human being, that is by far one of the most important aspects of dealing with other human beings. I think innately we like to deceive others. We like to harm others as long as we gain something out of it. And I'm going to give you an example why that is. I'm actually just spend most of my day watching the, yes, thank you, is the Ketone card. Very good. It is a very good card, by the way. So I've been watching this new Netflix series that came out. It's called, ironically, The Age of Samurai. It's about how the Age of Samurai in Japan affected, you know, the deunification, if that's a word, deunification of Japan. So essentially the downfall of the Japanese government, causing warlords to rise all over Japan and created the feudal period, right? You have the daimyos, they were killing each other using samurais and later on ninjas. And what I was gathering from all this cruelty that Oda Nobunaga caused was that he didn't care about humanity. He only cared about personal gains. He only cared about power. He didn't care how he went ahead and dealt with his enemies, you know, cruelty and death, whatever, bloodshed. Like his way he wanted to rule Japan was through the sword, through bloodshed. And that led to a lot of the historians saying that a lot of the samurai warriors, they were really essentially had no loyalty. They only were loyal to people who would eventually prolong their own lifespan. So the loyalty kind of like started fading away. Like you will always think the Japanese folks would be very loyal, right? Because that's what they did. Like that's how they perceive it to the rest of the world. But in actuality, during that time, the soldiers and the samurai warriors were so easily to jump teams because ultimately it's about survival, right? They didn't care who they harmed. There was so much backstabbing going on, people willing to sell their own family members out and things like that just so they can get ahead in life. And I feel like that's what we do as human beings. We like to do things in certain ways that perhaps only profit us, right? Individuals. I think if it boils down to it, statistically speaking, we're more likely to get harmed by people we know than people we don't know. Statistically speaking, most likely we're probably going to be saving lives of strangers before we save lives of our own loved ones. And that's probably all statistically that's been backed up by hundreds of years of data. Me in the medical field, I feel that's the way it is, right? When I'm working, I'm dealing with strangers. I'm working with strangers. None of my loved ones are in my workplace. And most of the time, I'm trying to save lives of people that I have no idea who they are. Yeah, I can have a name, I have a face, but I don't know who they are. You know, as a medical professional, if say a criminal was to come to the ER, gunshot wounds, stabs, you know, things like that, we don't go ahead and look up what they did to obtain those things. We just are told to save their lives, right? Chances are we don't question anything. We just save their lives. But if somebody was trying to stab your family or trying to shoot your family, then you have to start thinking to yourself, where does the thin line divide? Do I want to save this person's life, knowing the fact that this person tried to harm my family? I think that we need to question that, you know, we need to question that moral aspect of things in this tiny, small instance. I know some of you might think, Nash, I think you're taking this to a next level. I'm actually not. If you think about this, this is essentially what the companies are telling us, that they're more than willing to throw away their trust factor with their main Japanese server because of the fiasco that they work with, you know, with the whole rigged banners or whatever, right? We all heard about it. And then they're more than willing to kind of throw away our trust factor with them as global players. And I'm not sure if this is more than one occurrence, but let's say we're told to ignore all the other occurrences that happened before this. Doesn't this signify that the companies absolutely do not care about us? I mean, I don't know. Like, you tell me. It's like, think about it. How does it make sense for me now to trust a company in believing anything they tell me? Right? I used to take a strong stance about people data mining on these type of games, because companies have to make an individual effort to determine if that's illegal or legal for them, right? Some people like it, some people don't. And I was always against data mining because I feel like it gave some people maybe an unfair advantage. But in this case, maybe I do need to like talk to people who are data mining, because that makes more sense to kind of figure out if they're just trying to dupe us, or is this something that was a mistake on their part, right? If the companies come out and say, listen, I'm sorry, global players, we did not mean to do this, it was a oversight on our part, then I'm willing to accept that and we'll continue the relationship. But if they don't say anything, they just kind of like, oh, it doesn't really matter what global players think. We are giving Duane to Japan and we're happy with that at a lower cost, as someone pointed out to me, right? Watch that awesome Sengoku period must really be hell. Yes, it really is. It was hell. So I know I've said a lot, and I think folks in chat already understand where I'm going with this. I'm not too happy about this, just from the general perspective as a gamer. Every time when a company does something wrong and they rectify by doing things to try to make up for that mistake, that's one thing. But if they do something wrong, and then they do something wrong, and then they do something wrong, and they keep doing something that's perceived wrong by their customers, then you have to start questioning the companies themselves. and maybe you have to take a stance. And I think individually, I need to figure out if this is a game that I'm willing to continue with, because I put in like what 10 months of my life into this game. I started this channel with this game as its foundation, and I feel like the folks that are supporting this channel love this game as much as I do, and they also perhaps just supporting me as an individual to have a voice, you know, to perhaps to speak up for some people in this community. And so it would really definitely hurt to walk away knowing the fact that there were so many good people in the community. But at the same time, I think as a group of folks who love games, who loves their families, who love the fact that they have to work hard for their money, and therefore when they're spending it, they hope to get some kind of joy out of it, some sort of satisfaction, and they're not, then we can collectively as a whole just simply walk away and just let the game die where it needs to die. Because I don't know if this specific instance justifies the death of this game on global, but it definitely leaves a very, very nasty taste in my mouth personally. And maybe I will write a email to the companies voicing how I feel about it, and then just be like, I'm not really liking the direction you guys are going. And we haven't even reached the 1-year anniversary. And that's the sad part. It's like, this game has so much potential, and before we reach the 1-year anniversary, we're dealt with so much drama. And I have to say this, it's kind of like pointless drama. Like, why even give us this type of drama before it comes? You know, like it can potentially taint the whole 1-year anniversary situation. And I think at this point, I need to stop thinking about in terms of JP server, global server. I just need to start thinking of it as a human being, as a gamer. And I don't care about all the things that's attached to, you know, the segregation of servers or things like that. You know, I think, honestly, I think that's the only thing I can recommend the players from both sides in terms of JP server or global server, or people who are against Gumi or people who are supporting them. I think we just need to look at it from a simple perspective of that, is this moral? Is this the right thing to do to people, right? You're literally taking people's money and telling them lies to their faces. And I think companies needs to own up to their mistakes. And instead of just giving me free items to shut me up, they need to apologize. I feel like they need to apologize for this fiasco. And I need these apologies to be sincere. You know, we need some sort of rebuilding of trust if this is going to be the way this game is going to continue in year 2. Look, I'm already starting to feature other games on this channel, talk about there are a lot of things that are coming on the horizons. And ironically, that game was from Square Enix. So is there just no escape from Square, guys? Is there just no escape for me from walking away from Square Enix? I don't know. All right, let's catch up on some, let's catch up. I think there are 2 takes on the Duane and JP. Yeah. One is cheaper to just copy paste the unit and develop a new one. The image is shorter production capability. 2, there is the moral side, and yes, there will always be screwed up. Yeah. If we complain a lot, maybe they'll apologize and compensate us. Hi Nash, what do you have today? What is the discussion? Hey Zen, we're discussing the Duane situation. Apparently, I found out that Duane was released on JP, and this is probably before your time, but Duane is a unit that was dubbed as a global exclusive, and recently they released it on Japan according to a poll taken by the gamers there, and they voted that they want to see Duane on their server, and subsequently the companies made the shards cheaper to purchase with Duane that cost the players on global a lot more shards. So you spend thousands in a game and you can't log in. Do you think if global community bands together and threatens to stop spending, do you think they will do what they do with JP guilds? Or do you think they would just shut down the global server and focus on JP? No global whales is white knight of Gumi, we all know it. Haha, no escape from Square Enix. So here's how I look at it. I don't think we need to band together and tell each other to stop spending. No, that's not something I will always advocate. I would never advocate that, even though technically speaking, at one point I did tell people maybe to stop spending for a little while and see what happens. That's the only time I would say that, is Stop spending because you need to see how the companies handle the situation. But it doesn't mean we need to just stop spending, period, because that's not realistic. There are plenty of people out there that don't care about what's going on. They'll keep playing the game because it's not affecting them. And to them, spending $48 or $50 on a character that is showing up on another server when we were told that it's exclusive, they're going to shrug it off. They're like, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Because okay, realistically speaking, it doesn't make that much of a difference if JP got everything that Global has and vice versa. Because to me, it makes no difference. Because what's the difference? Nothing. It's not like people who are playing on a server needs to have bragging rights. That's not how this works. But I think if you look at it, it's more of like the company's way of marketing their game. I think that's duplicity, right? That they're trying to deceive us. Did I use the word right, duplicity? I don't think I used it right, but they're trying to deceive us. It's a clear deception, okay? It's a situation where they told us one thing and then it did another. Like a long scheme of life, it doesn't make any difference. It really doesn't. If you had Duane here and having Duane on the JP server, it doesn't affect us because we're still only fighting people on global. It makes no difference. But what does affect people is their mentality towards the company. They're going to start thinking, wait a second. They told me that they will only be giving us this as a limited exclusive unit, so I'm willing to spend the money on. But now it's like anytime they say the word exclusive, can we trust that to be true, right? Can we really trust what Gumi and Square Enix is saying to be legit? So if that's the case, they're willing to do that, they're going back on their words, then what made us think that some of the stuff that's hidden behind the walls, unless you hack them or something, are not being controlled by the companies, are not being rigged or this and that, right? I hate to be that one guy to try to like, connect the dots. And I don't encourage people to do that because this situation has nothing to do, technically speaking, with any of the other speculations we made as players. But it has to get you to start thinking. It has to get you to start thinking, okay, is this game even worth playing anymore? Because it's just lies upon lies that the company's telling me. What happened to the transparency that me as a content creator have been boasting about this company and boasting about this game for the last 10 months? And when I was giving away accounts, I asked people, what is it that you love about this game? And a lot of people said they love how the company is generous. They love how the company has been transparent with us. They love how the company is giving us content and reruns of content so we can keep going back and obtaining things on our own time, right? On our own time frame, whatever. And those are the things I hear, the great things I hear about this game and things like that. And of course, I always, in the back of my mind somewhere, have a little reservation about Gumi because I play and dealt with Gumi for a very long time, all their global games and stuff like that. And I always felt like there was a reason why people called them scummy for a very long time, because they did scummy tactics. This definitely falls in that category of being very scummy, if you think about it. Telling someone one thing and then 2 weeks later, take your word back. That's a pretty scummy thing to do in business. And it's hard to recover from that, like our word should be what's the most important in terms of conducting business. When you're messing with people's money, your word is very, very important. Your actions are very, very important. So I think that's the basic of business, right? Trust is basic of business. I don't care how many degrees you have in marketing or any of that stuff. It doesn't make any difference. Basically, as human beings, this is a simple system. I give you money, you give me something in return. Promising me things and then delivering on those things is ultimately what good business is all about. Is this going to be taken to the next level about how bad business conduction or the bad conduct they're doing with business from Gumi and Square? I don't know. I don't know. And in fact, I don't really know if I really wanted to drag this situation through the mud. But I feel like this is a very important topic, to the point where like today I was contemplating, do I even want to play this game anymore? Like that bad? Because it's like, I feel like I've been duped for 10 months. I feel like I've been duped. Like anything that's happening in the future, they could change it and going back on their words. And if that's the case, it doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make you feel good. And so I think I haven't been really spending much lately anyways on this game. And I think I have to wait again to kind of really see what the company is going to be doing to handle this situation. I don't even know how out of hand this topic has gotten, by the way. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't been watching YouTube to see if there's been responses given by the other players, the other content creators. I haven't heard anything yet, but today I think I saw the Cabbage announcement that the reason they released Duane was because of a poll, right? If that was the case, the only thing I could say is, why was Duane on that poll? Because it doesn't make sense, right? Beware of somebody even from now. Oh, I see. Yeah, Cabbage discussed it too, that Duane will be released on JP, but no info on biz cost. Yeah, Zen. So it looks like the Visual cost has been reduced. Lou, that's a good point. Did they say global original or global exclusive? So before we jump the gun, we need to go back and figure out, is it a global original or a global exclusive? I think we need to go back and figure that out. So if they use the word exclusive launch, it just means it's launching on the global server first, right? So this is kind of where we need to be careful with the wording and be careful before we make any action. This is why I call it Friday free thinking, because when the collective minds get together, Lou pointed out, was it really exclusive unit? Or is it more like just an original unit that they initiated on global first? Because if that's the case, then none of this really makes any difference. They had to advertise Duane as global exclusive because his price was $50. It's not at all gummy. Square itself changed through years. Our game is just gummy games. Every game they made was like a complete little jewel. Finished and complete, you could have long time. Nowadays they make nice games, but always incomplete. Always trying to make a little bit more from you. So Drew says, definitely global exclusive, he recalls. But Fama says, like a time exclusive. I don't think they will use the word time exclusive, because limited unit is not necessarily means exclusive. That wouldn't make any sense. I think what we need to do is we need to do some collective research and go back and search that banner and look for the word exclusive, because I didn't take any screenshots of it, if I remember correctly. Because, put it this way, if they advertise as an exclusive only for global, then this is a fiasco. If they said it's a global original, then it makes no difference. They could do whatever they want with it, right? So that is a great point, Lou. We need to go back and we need to figure that out. Call of Duty does this all the time. So they do things like it's a timed exclusive, oh my goodness. And then of course they release it some other time. If they need to do some poll, they should ask players what character they wanted to be released. I mean, new characters that they can incorporate into the game. I think that's what they did do, Zen. They did do that. They essentially, what they did was they took a poll and then asked the JP players what they would like to see. I rewatched the video. Hiroki said original. Exclusive is not longer exclusive anymore in the gaming industry. So if Hiroki said is it original, but somewhere along the line in terms of advertisement on the banners it said exclusive, anywhere if they use the word exclusive, then it's misadvertisement, right? But if Hiroki says global original character, that's a lot different than exclusivity, or that's not the word. Exclusive is what, how do you pronounce it? It's not exclusivity. I keep pronouncing that word wrong. Exclusivity, I think, is the right pronunciation. So then we need to shed some light on this situation and go back and retrace our steps, because I believe many people thought Duane is an exclusive unit for global, just like Fryevia was an exclusive unit for global. And I believe that mentality was carried on for that entire duration, for that week and the weeks after following. By the way, Attack on Guild Battle, we're getting pummeled. Now we raised to Champion 2. Oh, let's go on a lighter note. I think it's fair to say that we put our minds together. Someone just came in and said, hey, are you sure this is a topic about exclusivity, right? And not just talk about the fact that it was just the original. So let's leave it like that. I checked it out on their Twitter. It says global original unit. So there we go. We are slowly figuring out that. Okay, let me put it this way. What is that? What is that psychological effect? I think it's called the. Have you guys heard of the Mandela effect? Have you guys heard of the Mandela effect? The Mandela effect, if I remember correctly, states that people remember something. Okay? People remember something as it was something. And essentially what it does is it leads other people to believe in something that is what it is, what it perceives is to be. So for example, if you just type in the Mandela effect, it will show you all the different symbols of companies and things of that nature that people thought had this or that and this. For example, I believe it was Curious George was something that had like, people asked, was there a tail shown or like a tail not shown? And if you interview people, people say, oh yeah, I remember there was a tail. But if 99% of the population think there was a tail, there wasn't actually a tail, then it's considered the Mandela effect. It just means that people say leads to other people to believe in something that is true or not true. In actuality, it affects their false memory. So I'm not suggesting that my topic of conversation is leading people to be angry about anything. I said that before. Always keep the reservations, make sure you gather all the data. And in this situation, people came into the chat and make sure they brought the right data with them. And as a result, they said, no, it's not the word exclusive. But here's the big but. I'm pretty sure a lot of people remember Duane as an exclusive unit without thinking that if he was or was not stated by the company that he was an exclusive unit. And so the way I look at it is this. If he was an exclusive unit in the terms of perception, then people who are perceiving it are falling under that category of Mandela effect or false memory. Or is it because that he was actually an exclusive unit, but at the minute they change it to something else, or they never really wanted to use the word exclusive, but even if they use the word exclusive somewhere, it led people to believe. So Drew Arnold says, wow, so my YouTubers have global exclusive unit for Duane. Are we going back to track what the YouTube content creators have done? Because then we need to go back and track the fact, yes, it's perceived to be an exclusive unit by global players, but it turns out that the company makes sure they use the right wording that is a global. I do remember them saying the word global original. I do remember that. But I also remember them using the word exclusive somewhere along the line. So am I to be part of that perception where, hey, listen, you're perceiving this wrong? Yes, it could be a possibility that I myself perceived it wrong. Other YouTube content creators perceived it wrong. Player bases perceived it wrong. Or is the word exclusive something automatically embedded into our brain when we see something like this, right? So we're going to have to figure all this out. We're going to have to make sure the dust settles, right? I would definitely like to still send an email to the companies asking them, was Duane an exclusive unit for global? If they say no, Duane was a original unit designed for global, or just an original unit to be released first on global, then this is not an issue. It was exclusive when it came out. The Mandela effect occurs when a large group of people believe an event occurred when it did not. Thank you. So this kind of goes back to the idea that, did I try to stir up a hornet's nest? No, I don't think I did. All I did was I bring the subject up. I want to discuss it from the perspective of, is this true or is this not true? I want people's perception on it. And I believe the word exclusive was used. But do I fall under that Mandela effect, which I memorize it correctly, or is it false memory? I think that will have to remain to be seen, because as I remember it, I don't think I advertised an exclusive unit. I have to go back and look at my own material as well, because if that's the case, then I will have to apologize not only to the global community players, but the game in its own right? I did think about quitting, but not because of the fact of what's going on. There's a lot of other things going on in my life that I thought about not playing the game for a long time. So I don't want people to misconstrue that information as because of what's going on with this specific banner. I am up in arms about it because it does make sense that if we were told that it's exclusive in any way, shape, or form, people are going to automatically assign with it. And someone did bring this, right? Somebody did say that Fryevia was released alongside with Duane at the same time. I believe that's actually a fact, right? That's a fact. Because when Fryevia was re-released alongside with Duane, it kind of furthered, churned the thinking that Duane was going to be exclusive to global. Okay, so we'll keep this topic conversation going, but I do want to show you guys that we are champion number 2. And congratulations to us. That was a pretty long grind. We did have a lot of losses along the way, but we started bouncing back. So we are looking for 1 member. So if you are interested in fighting in Champion 2 level Guild Wars competition, feel free to apply to the guild. I have my Discord information of the guild in Thursday's video, so go ahead and just click on that video, go to the bottom, and then there is a Discord information. It's open to the public all the time. There's on the bottom of your screen, should be a guild application channel. Just go ahead and then have a conversation with our guild leaders and or recruiters, and then you can go from there whether or not you're a good fit for us or we're a good fit for you. So, oh wow, you guys are in Champion 3. Congratulations. So yeah, I said it. So wait, you said, yeah, the news post says it's original. Gummy made it look that way. Duane was $50. They had to advertise him as a unique opportunity. So the way I'm looking at this situation is this, okay? Bottom line is, everything I've said up to this point, I don't take anything back. I maintain my stance on that. If this is duplicity, if this is false advertisement, if this is something that they're taking the players for a spin, if they're in fact just creating a aura around this unit, getting people to spend as if it was original, whether or not they use the word original or exclusive, I think it got to the point where we started thinking exclusive. It could fall under 2 categories. People who look at this video or this content, or people making content about this stuff, can say, 1, you didn't read it correctly, or 2, it was kind of like treated that way, that we were being given information to make us think that it was the way it was. Limited time unit, double cost, exclusive for global. Therefore, if you spend it, you're going to be ahead of your competition. I'm not exactly sure where to take that stand before I go back personally and look up all that information and then do a follow-up on that situation, I feel like. Why they make him limited to M Global and not JP? Oh, I wanted to, but I think I need to pull for anniversary first so I can max some units. I only have 2 max units at this moment. Is checking the banner on the news section. It said new global original, not exclusive. Well played, Gumi. So it looks like, myself included, has followed under the idea of misrepresenting the idea, okay, maybe misconception of the idea that he was an exclusive, even though they just used the word original instead of exclusive. So now the beef. Okay, so he is not limited, and he is not, I think what, he doesn't cost double the shards in JP, if I remember correctly. So regardless of the word exclusive or original, we're still getting less, I guess, I don't want to use the word special treatment, but we definitely had to pay extra for the unit. Because that would make more sense. I think the community was just using the term global exclusive and causing the false memory. I'll paste a caption on the Thick Dive Discord. Yes, thank you, Tal. That'd be great. Because I think for next week, I would definitely like to do a house cleaning on this topic. Because I wanted to do this live. Think about it. If I did this not live and I talk about it, then people are going to say, well, he wasn't exclusive. If we can get into the conversation before, of course we paid extra. Yes, of course we paid extra. They wanted us to pay extra. And by the way, I haven't spent a lot of money regardless of what's going on, regardless of any sort of fiascos or not fiascos. I essentially just kind of like haven't really had any interest in terms of spending on units or cards lately. And today I just really didn't feel like logging in for the longest time. I actually slept. I slept a lot today, actually. I think I slept way more than I needed to sleep. And lately I've been like that. Wow, I can't believe you guys are in... I think it's still possible that they maybe care less about global than they care about JP. I don't want to say that they don't care about global because, like I said before, if they're making $1 on JP server and they're making 25 cents on global, that's still 25 cents. And in this climate, in this economic climate across the planet, making 25 cents is still making 25 cents. So it looks like we're getting destroyed pretty badly here. But we have 34 attacks and they have 24 attacks. Looks like it's a lot of Sakura. Is this a new map actually? Raises strike attack. Okay. So as you can see, there are a lot of one. Oh my goodness. Their defense is doing an excellent job because look at all of these one unit that is left alive. You will have to spend essentially one. Now here's a problem. If I decide to attack one of these teams and I lose, potentially we can lose out on a lot of points. So the safe bet is to try to take out and get 4 points for my team. Right? Because there's a lot of evasion comps here. Someday we will have to reach out limit. It's okay if we lose. No, I don't mind losing. Like, I mean, even when we're in Champion 1, we lost quite a bit. So I think I'm going to try to take out these guys. Niv is very, very strong. I've fought against Niv. As I said before, her speed is what makes her ridiculously good. Now I'm starting to think, did I follow under the false memory myself and follow into that trap, right? Did I follow and say Duane was an exclusive unit? Because I believe I've actually done coverages on the whole idea of exclusive units. And if that's the case, I am to blame just as much as anyone else who was trying to sell the idea of exclusive. And if that's the case, I need to kind of like take a step back and look at myself and reflect on the idea that once you start telling a false narrative, then you are to blame. Like, you are to blame. And me, like, not you, but me. I do remember the word original, though. I do really remember the word. So we got 2 points. 2 points for the team. So I could potentially open up another team here. I would have a hard time defeating these guys because they have so much evasion. The problem is if I don't attack these other guys here, I think I'm just gonna have to do what's best for the guild and just attack. Just attack the team and get some points here. Yeah, I had to clean up because I think a lot of these defenses are so strong that even if I was able to beat them, I would be crippled. And if I'm crippled, the best I could do is just open up another team and gain no points. So I think the best way to do this is try to do cleanup. Just have guys that go in there and do the cleanup work while some other guys are forced going to be opening up some of the enemy defenses. Wait a second, did we just crash? Wait a second. This happened to me before where, for some weird reason, every time I see a weird light, I can't attack them. Every time I attack them, I get booted. That's it, Nash. Be a hero by not being a hero. Yeah, sometimes I feel like cleaning up is the best way to do this. I believe the game crashed as a result of... I used to think this was like a hack or something where like some defenses, for some weird reason, every time I try to attack them on the emulator, I get kicked. I think I got kicked. So, the BlueStacks had an update today. I wonder if they fixed the issue about crashing. But one thing I learned is if you're playing on the emulator, instead of waiting for the screen to keep going, they just go ahead and click on it when you see the Square Enix sign. Then it should automatically log you into War of Vision's touchscreen. Yes, this happened on BlueStack a lot, so I switched to my phone just for the Guild War Arena for a class match. Yes, I've only dealt with this issue on the emulator, by the way. Actually, now that we're here, let's go back. Does this go all the way back down to everything? Do you guys remember how far down we go? Sakura. It was definitely before Sakura, right? I think it was before Niblu as well. So as you can see, it does say Global Original Unit Duane. Global Original Unit. Wow, they make sure they use the word They make sure they use the word original quite a bit, huh? Global Original Vision Card. So it looks like it was something created by the community. And I will have to say I'm at fault for that as well. And it's kind of like, if it was in fact an exclusive, then it will definitely be on the company's fault. But since they use the word original and therefore covering themselves by saying, essentially what it is it's open to be anywhere. And I think that's perhaps done in both communities, because I remember actually Japanese players saying that we got a crappy exclusive. I swear I remember that somewhere. But then again, we did talk about false memory, and that could be something that was contributing to this whole situation from both everyone, right? And so this really makes me want to go back and look up Fryevia and their word usage. And this is gonna take a little time, but since this is a stream and you're just watching me do what I do, it's not like we have anywhere to go at this moment. We're gonna go ahead and look that up. So one thing on that note, that is a very interesting note, is the fact that nothing on JP says exclusive, right? Because if we're to reverse this situation and JP gets something and then global players gets it, you're not going to probably see people kind of like crying over spilled milk type of situation in the other But to be fair though, if this is not a big deal, like perhaps I was trying to get the conversations to go in the direction, and if I was to go back and redo this, and I go back and rewatch the stream, I do remember me saying earlier tonight that I don't want this to be a bigger deal than it is. But I felt like I needed to speak my mind if it was going in that direction, that it was something that has to do with the fact that if he was exclusive, then people should have the right to be upset. But, you know, given the fact that he is cheaper cost, not limited time unit, that in itself seems a bit weird as well, right? If you think about it. And I'm not trying to say this to cover the potential mistakes that we have made as a group of folks, namely content creators, if we're pushing for the idea that it was an exclusive. It kind of makes me think, it kind of makes me want to go watch all the other content creators during this time. Did they use the word exclusive themselves? A little late, but I made it. Hey J Mills, welcome to the stream. Now I feel it was all planned ahead about Duane, but JP overdid the timing on 100 cost units. They should wait a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, it has to be timed correctly, right? Wait a second, when was Fryevia? Fryevia was before Delita, has to be. Or not, yeah, it was before Delita, right? It does seem very weird though. It does seem very weird though. Like why did Duane get separate treatment? Let's say, I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. I will have to say, if I did use the word exclusive during the time he was released, I will have to apologize for that because I created a false narrative myself. You know, I definitely didn't read it properly and I read it wrong, and as a result, perhaps that trickled. And if I wasn't the only person that did this, then we as a group, as a community, made a mistake. And even the Japanese players probably fell into that situation thinking that it was exclusive for us as well. and it all just kind of like, it just kept like, you know, adding, it just kept building upon each other, right? No one corrected each other, and it just kept going. Like viewership didn't correct the situation and just kept going with it, and all amounted to what happened with the current situation about people feeling a little down about why they got Duane when they perhaps shouldn't have. I think, was Rain released at the same time? Here it is. Here it is, Fryevia. Did I pass it, guys? I saw it. I just saw her name. Here it is. Wow. Can you imagine this false narrative that we created? Look at this. Final Fantasy XVS unit Rain and global original unit Fryevia. So they've been using the word original the entire time. Not only once was there the word usage of exclusive, but you guys and I remember that everyone used the word exclusive when Fryevia was released. In fact, I remember even saying the word exclusive many times over. And when I was watching other content creators using the same word, exclusive, they kept saying that Japan will never get Fryevia because of exclusivity. So that right there leads to the idea the companies never use the word exclusive. I'm scrolling through this entire situation. I don't see the word exclusive at all. In fact, I only see the word original. But I swear, this is definitely a Mandela effect. Every single person on the planet used the word Fryevia as a global exclusive. So therefore, JP will and can be introduced Fryevia. But if you guys remember, if I remember correctly, even the Japanese players used the word exclusive for Fryevia being on global, which caused like people being upset about the idea that Fryevia was exclusive to global. But now I go back and now I'm thinking about it. Did they change it? And I'm thinking to myself, did they change the word original from exclusive? Because this clearly seems like it wasn't tainted, that everyone just read it wrong. Global original unit Fryevia, see? Limited time unit, because I remember talking about her, and people kept saying, oh, we're so upset the fact that it's a limited time unit. It's a limited exclusive unit, and people were using that word interchangeably, right? It goes back to, if you go back and look at this old news, it's like I swear I should go back and watch all my old videos, because then that footage would not be tainted, because if I go back, I actually went over the news. That's what I should do. I remember like it was yesterday, the word exclusive was written. I even read it. Go further to Fryevia's banner. Where's Fryevia's banner? Do you guys see her banner anywhere? Is this it? Our first global original unit Fryevia in the following limited time. Let's look at the banner. It just says Final Fantasy XVS Universe Collaborative Summon. So here's how it works. Every single person, right? Am I right, guys? Am I the only one who's being delusional right now? Because I swear, I don't know what I'm swearing on, but I'm swearing that we all, as a community, including the Japanese community, all kept saying that she was an exclusive on global. And it just further kept going, right? It kept going because Japan never got her. So it solidified the idea that she was an exclusive. But cleverly, the company have been using the word original since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the time of this game. Because I remember saying when I did my, remember guys, for those of you that have been watching my channel since the beginning, I did a review on Rain, and I kept saying that Rain will also be limited, and everyone corrected me that he was not limited. I remember that very vividly too. So there's no reason to get upset because the companies didn't do anything wrong. And if that is the case where they went back and changed the word, I don't think they would do something like that. That is just in my mind. I feel like that's just in my mind. It's kind of like we've been bombarded with this concept that an original unit is essentially what they're saying is this unit is being released as a first time only unit on the global server. That's essentially what this advertisement is, folks. And me falling into that false memory / Mandela effect have essentially got the community of those who watch my videos to also think that was an exclusive. And as a result, it cascaded as a domino effect that everyone thought Fryevia was an exclusive unit. In fact, we've been using the word exclusive over the course of months. Every time the word was mentioned. I bet you my bottom dollar, if you go on Reddit, you go on forum websites, they're all going to say exclusive somewhere, right? Maybe, again, this is a Mandela effect, thinking that I saw the word exclusive. God, this will make a great movie. I should start writing a script on this already, like a great movie title. How we're seeing things and convincing ourselves that it is what it is. You know what, guys? I do not see the word exclusive anywhere. So what does this say? Like, what does this Friday Free Thinking is teaching us tonight? Well, it taught me one thing. It taught me that before I cover anything, I need to check and triple check the words, because words are so powerful. Once you use it, you can't take it back. And effectively, it has changed the community in the way we thought. I think that is a good point, Elliot. I think maybe that's what it is. When we saw the word limited and jumped to the conclusion that it is exclusive. And to further exacerbate the situation, Fryevia never saw release on JP. So this entire time, we just kept thinking we got it Fryevia as our exclusive. Because remember, like when people were doing PvP videos, arena videos, they're saying, man, this exclusive unit sucks balls for global. I remember people saying that. And I think even folks who are covering the JP server even said that when they were doing global news, right? It's an exclusive for, I think maybe we just need to remove the word exclusive altogether from our vocabulary. I think someone said earlier that Call of Duty kind of abused the word, Sony maybe technically speaking abused the word. And I think right now, without any fault, we're all, myself included here, are just thinking of the word exclusive. And we maybe are trying to have that mentality, kind of like when I went to that first analogy of the Lamborghini. I'll go into the store and I think, wow, this is exclusive. But in actuality, it was a limited number, right? It was a limited run. That was essentially foreshadowing to where I am sitting in front of my computer right now. That my own analogy was foreshadowing that the false narrative was created at that moment. That I thought I was part of the exclusive club. I thought I was exclusive by having 1 out of 100 Lamborghini. But then when they released it later, I didn't realize it was just a limited run. That they could easily release more Lamborghinis. Yes, Phoenix, you're absolutely correct. They are all using the word original. They're not using exclusive. He said the first global unit. He probably said the first original global unit. I think the natural response by me and any other person was thinking that it was exclusive to global. In actuality, it is not. All I can say is holy shit, right, guys? Holy shit, right? We totally. But now I have to say I apologize. I have to say I'm sorry. I have to say it. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm sorry for thinking the way I did. And I'm sorry as a content creator that I pointed out certain things, even though I still stand by everything I've said in terms of how I feel human nature is. I will not take that back, because that is the truth. I feel like that is the truth. When we're put in certain positions, ultimately we will do what it takes for our own gain, right? That's a fact. I don't think, actually, let me take that back. That's not a fact. I feel like in my mind that's the truth. But in this case, I have to say I'm sorry, because I realized I contributed to a false narrative myself, in that I contributed by using a word interchangeably with the word original. So when we as content creators are trying to represent the community in that sense, we fucked up. Now I kind of have to want to go back and watch Cabbage's video. I want to watch Umbra's videos. I want to watch everyone's video. I want to go back and watch what's his name? Mysidia's Gaming. I want to watch Nerd Night. I want to watch all those videos during these two times, right? One with Fryevia and one with Duane. And I want to go back and watch those guys to see if they use the word exclusive at all. Because I believe everyone used the word exclusive. So yeah, Elliot, I guess in that sense, people who have Duane, I guess sort of in a way have a right to be a little bit upset. Maybe not to the point of upset about grabbing pitchforks and torches to try to burn somebody down, but I think people have the right to be upset. I think of the games where they use global exclusive, interchanging the terms. Well, sometimes when we are bought into the concept of thinking of one thing and we're never corrected, then it just keeps going, right? Like I said, it's a domino effect. It just kind of knocks the dominoes down across the board until somebody jumps in and bring it to the front, to the spotlight. And to be honest, I'm glad I brought this to the spotlight. I'm glad I did this stream responding the way I did, because now people can interpret how they respond. Now people can interpret how I responded and interpret the way I responded. Am I telling people to go grab pitchforks and torches? No, I don't think I did. The way I looked at it was, I said, if this is the case, then we have the right to be angry. We have the right to tell them that we're being wronged. But now that we went back in time and looked at both banners, and they just kept using the word original, and at the same time we as players used the word exclusive, we started connecting the dots that it was interchangeable. And it turns out when we saw something, then we realized, wow, this whole time we've been all thinking the wrong term. We've been all thinking wrong. And so now moving forward, we have to understand that, hey, it doesn't, like I said before, to contradict myself, which I did, I realized it doesn't make any difference if JP got the characters. It makes no difference because it doesn't affect global, right? It doesn't affect global at all. We are still competing against global players. We're not competing against JP players. So the fact that JP players got the same characters, it doesn't really mean anything. But I think for those people who went after Fryevia, there's a possibility a lot of them thought that it was exclusive, therefore they will be the only ones having access to that unit. And then it carried over when Duane came out, because the same wordage was used. Wow, that's very interesting though. I'm gonna have to definitely make a follow-up on this because I definitely have to do a house cleaning on Monday because I have to make sure people understand that we as a community have been duping ourselves. We've been telling ourselves one thing, and we've been telling ourselves that it's okay to accept our actions as what they are. I'm seriously gonna go back and watch Cabbage's video. I'm gonna go back and watch Dig's video. I'm gonna go back and watch Umbra's video when they're covering the news during that time frame. Did all those content creators use the word exclusive? Because if they did, then we're all at fault. It is no way Gummy's fault. It's no way Square Enix's fault. Okay, looks like somebody took out. Looks like somebody took out Nibla. Okay. So I'm gonna use. So now I can either kill one of these guys, right? We are down to 28. They have 21. But they're at 84, so that means they have already defeated every single one. No, 87 is the perfect score. So they need 3 more kills, 3 more points to get perfect score. So that means every point counts. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this guy out. Because I don't want to waste my attacks. Scummy planned this long time ago. No, this is another one of those situations that we realize as a community we fucked up. We convinced ourselves that it was an exclusive unit. In this case, we convinced ourselves that those two are exclusive units to global. When in actuality, they're not exclusive units. So if that's the case, then we messed up. And I think I need to get that message across to the community. Like, cause I always stated the idea that certain things I don't want to see on global that comes out on JP. And you could even say the same thing about vice versa, right? But that's just a personal opinion about things I don't want to see. But it looks like it doesn't make any difference if the servers get what they're getting. It makes no difference. I think the only time it makes a difference is in our mind in terms of general stuff, like general moral stuff, transparency stuff. It looks like the company has been transparent, but it created this little extra nook that we kept pushing and pushing ourselves into that little nook, thinking that this is the reality, when in actuality it wasn't the reality. The reality was they used the word original. They used the word original to make us think that, hey, this is the first time it's being offered, which is true. That's not false. On global. But they probably should have put Fine Brand, maybe. Even maybe. Hey, it could be released somewhere else. But we naturally branded that word exclusive. From now on, I'm no longer going to use the word exclusive. I even made a Friday Free Thinking episode about exclusive. And I probably need to tear that video down. I think I need to remove that video completely because I realized I helped create this situation. I'm just as at fault as anyone else who thought those units were exclusive. And to be honest, I'm glad I caught this at this moment before the situation got even worse for players to be angry and upset. And even though technically speaking, people can still be a little bit upset about the lower cost of Duane on JP and the fact that he is not limited on JP, people still can be a little bit upset about that. But at least they're telling people straight out, this is what they're doing on the JP. This is what they have been doing on global. I think in our own mind, we like to think of ourselves as perhaps trying to be part of an exclusive club. And I think that's part of human nature. If you're presented the opportunity to be special and you're told that you're special and all you have to do is pay a price, it looks like more than none people are willing to spend that money to feel special. You didn't know Kane had a ponytail? Yeah, maybe that's what I was doing, folks. Maybe I was trying to grow my hair out to look like Kane. Anyways. Alright, so I think it's fair to say that I think we have spoken quite clearly on this topic. In many ways, I try to get you guys to get your pitchforks up and get your torches up. And as Cabbage would say, let's go burn down some ghosts. But in actuality, we were chasing ghosts. But we did learn a few things tonight. We learned that they're quite clever with their words. They're quite clever with their words. And we have to be careful. And please remind me as well. And we need to probably go remind the other content creators that, hey, we must use the same words the company used. And let that be open to interpretation of what's to come in the future for those words chosen by the companies, instead of the word, you know, trying to interchange words that doesn't make any sense in this case. Lesson learned for everybody, I suppose. Everybody go home and lesson learned. Gumi wants you to feel special for $50, but it's limited time. I suppose so. I don't think content creators have any responsibility. It's clearly a semantic strategy. They have people pay to think those schemes after all. Yeah, I mean, that's one way of looking at it, Tal. I mean, that's definitely one way of looking at it. But since we've been stepping on our own toes and shoving words in our own mouths, I think it's more mature for us to take a step back and just take the responsibility on. Like for me, I'm a content creator. I want to take on that responsibility and say, hey, listen, I contributed to this problem, right? I did a fucking video on the word exclusivity. I really did. And now I think about it, that's just creating more problems. In fact, I need to do a follow-up Friday Free Thinking next week and make an actual video and say exclusivity never existed other than in our minds. Maybe that would get people to think about that. Yeah, I agree. It is all clear now. It is very clear, and I think people will see that for what it is. Okay, I'm not going to do any duels because they're seeming to be not very entertaining. I just run the same teams. And I don't have any new units. Actually, I do. Let me take that back. I do have new units. I have him finished. Everything's maxed. And I guess there's no real reason for me to take him for a spin because he's not offering anything new in terms of content. Everybody been using him quite a bit, and he's more or less used for as an evasive unit now. Like he's just going for dodge. And for me, I don't have that card. I don't have that Valentine's Day card. See? It's not even in my box. It's not in my box. That's really weird that it has eluded me. Look at this. It's not here. I have this card, which is the anti-dodge card. It's not the same than saying Ayaka is trash and then many skip. I think you're right though. I think you're right. Did you do the 100 sharp pull? Yes, I did. I think I did. Actually, you know what? Let's do some pulls. I haven't done my pulls yet. Golden Boy. Yeah, Golden Boy is ready to go, but if I actually had that vision card maxed, then I actually would have a pretty solid defense that can potentially get a lot of wins. But I don't have that card. Maybe I'll get lucky right here, folks. The 10 summon pulls right here, right now, will probably give it to me. You guys ready? Let's do it. I agree that makes more sense, Tao. If you think it that way, like if you go around telling people Ayaka is trash and people stop pulling her, then yeah, that might piss people off. But telling someone, but I still look at it that if I'm telling people it's an exclusive, and people bought into that idea that it is an exclusive, other content creators say it's exclusive, and then people start thinking exclusive, then that's a problem. That is also an issue. I think that's just as worse, if not worse, don't you think? Telling people something that doesn't even exist? Because saying Ayaka is trash is clearly an opinion that is not popular. Right? That's clearly just not a popular opinion. But creating a false fact is worse than just a simple opinion. I'm gonna have to, maybe on the 1 year anniversary, we need to straighten that out during the collaborative stream. Halloween unit rerun timing is awful. See, that's an opinion that a lot of people might think that's a legitimate opinion. Here we go. Nope, I didn't get nothing. One of my guildies said Gumi used the word exclusive in the live stream. Maybe we need to go. I need to go back and watch it because they can't delete that video. And impossible if you don't already have her. Yeah, it is kind of hard to get her now. It is. I agree. It is hard, especially given the fact that 1 year anniversary is coming in like a month. But to be fair, all you guys need is just a first copy. If you can just get her and not necessarily build her, you're still fine. You still have a chance to get her running, like long before she's affected in any way. I have 26, so let me go buy some more, and then we can summon those for fun. And then maybe we'll do some farming, and then we can like discuss something else. Well, either way, I think the air is kind of clear. It's more clear for me. We should go back and rewatch the stream. And when you guys stream, do you guys mean the actual stream of something, or do you mean just a video that was released? I'm going to do skip animation, and then we're gonna just go ahead and blast through these. Oh, look at that. I got more golden boys. This is kind of rough. What do you guys think? I should just actually wait onto these tickets. Do these tickets disappear? Let me see if these tickets expire. Now I gotta make sure I read everything. This ticket is guaranteed to summon 5 shards. Units vision card not included. This summon does not include vision. So these do not go away. If these don't go away, then I shouldn't be summoning. I should save these tickets. I'm actually not gonna summon these guys. I'm gonna save these tickets. I'm actually gonna save these tickets. Because I want to wait till EX25 comes on. I should have done that. Oh man, I made a mistake. Do you guys want to go watch this video together right now? Should we go watch it together? Or do you guys want to just farm? I have the evade. I have this. I think I can probably get this to max easily, but I don't have it. Yeah, you guys should definitely not. Don't blow all those lunar tickets because you want to save for those shards because they're converted to EX25 tokens. Ah, mistakes, guys. I just made a big mistake because it doesn't say anywhere they're expired. Whew. What a session. What a stream session though, huh? we all got worked up a little bit here and there. So no one has said anything. I'm gonna go ahead and do this real quick. And then let's do a little book farming. All right, that's enough for me. I'm gonna do some book farming. And you guys are more than welcome to join me in some book farming. So actually, I already have a +5. I'm gonna show you guys real quick. This is from my last time. I have a low-hanging grade +5, but I could not get maximize on this, so I'm gonna have to re-roll. It pains me to do this, but I have to re-roll. It's terrible that I couldn't get. Essentially, I would just need. I believe it's. So essentially, you will need 132 here. That's it, 132. But I couldn't get it, so. And that is still with one in the shop. Okay, Tao, have a good one. Thanks for coming. So I still haven't bought this one. See, I don't. Okay, I thought about getting Halloween Ryu for the TMR, and then of course he's actually a pretty strong unit. Thought about getting him, but I was just afraid to pull the trigger on him because, technically speaking, I don't need him for anything. But if I did have him, I would have bought this too, but I didn't buy it. So I need more seals. That's my problem. But I think if you just kept using your hammers, you can eventually get lucky and get to 132. I'm gonna farm a little bit of books, and then we can hang out a little bit and then call it a night for those of you who want to go chill, do your thing. There you go, guys. Feel free to join in, and we can get some rolling. So I think it was still a fruitful night, though. I feel like to be an adult about things, you gotta admit your mistakes. And I'm gonna go back and watch the videos, and maybe I will bring this topic up during the collaborative stream. I do not use macro. I'm Vital. I do not use macro. And then that way, I just want to make sure that people understand that we're kind of screwed up on this. You know, we kind of screwed up along the way. And maybe more people watch this stream, or you know, videos that are released in the future. We all have to kind of be mindful and be careful that we do have influence, right? There are a lot of people in this game have influence for others, and so we have to think about that. And that, I guess that's the takeaway lesson for tonight. You know, instead of us trying to search for, you know, demons to exercise, we need to figure out, you know, if we're creating these situations ourselves, actually. So, you know, I still feel pretty good about that. I feel actually pretty good about that part. So we'll give it to 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then I'll go ahead and make a run. If not, then we can do some more. But well, there you go, folks. I think it's still a great session. I think ultimately it's about learning, right? If you make a mistake, try not to make the same mistakes, and just understand that, you know, it's okay to be wrong. And I think this goes the same. This kind of goes without saying, right? This kind of works the same way for the companies. If they make a mistake, they need to own up to it, right? Straight up. And for us as players, we need to own up to our mistakes if we make mistakes. And this goes especially for content creators. If other content creators have been watching the stream or watch this stream, I ask that we do the same. Make sure we use some sort of restraint in terms of understanding everything and then kind of go forth from that. And the crazy part is no one corrected ourselves. Like nobody. No one corrected ourselves that these units were not exclusive. Crazy, right? That's all I can think of right now is that we've been living 10 months. Well, I mean, we've been playing this game for 10 plus months. And no one corrected ourselves. That's crazy. Don't you guys feel like that's insane that this has been going on effectively for awful long time without anyone realizing these mistakes, these mentalities that we've been having. Nash, I do not have Little Leela or Howlet. That's fine. You have Eldira, which is essentially Little Leela in without the re-raise, right? That's Little Leela is good in the sense that she has re-raise. Like I think that's a very strong supporting killer capability. Who can I use for Golem Raid? Well, I have to be honest here. I don't know anything about the Golem Raid. So if that's coming up next week, then I'll have to study it when that time comes. I think even if Golem is weak to magic, even if he's not, if it's a little bit strong or to slash, you can still use slash units. Like you shouldn't have any issues beating the raid without having the most ideal units. It's just gonna take you a little bit more work. I think the last raid I had no missile units. I did not build Frederica. I did not pull Niv until that week the raid was going on. And all I had was Lucia. And so for me, I just went ahead and still used a slash team. Because for me, that was what was easy for me. And I still got to level 99, right? I still got to level 99. But I couldn't farm it like I normally would be farming the level 100 boss, right? Because at level 99, you will get the, was it 10,000? The 10,000 bonus raid points, raid medals. So that was my goal. My goal was just to reach level 99. And essentially I couldn't farm level 100 like I normally wanted to. But sometimes that's just how it goes. You know, like if you don't have all the necessary units for every single raid encounter, don't expect yourself to be coming really too far ahead in terms of gaining all those medals, right? You know, just be happy with the fact of what you can do. That's it. Like set yourself a small goal and then that's it. I'm assuming since Golem is, you're referring to Little Leela and Howlet, Golem may be weak to magic. So if he is, then maybe you can just use the other magic users. I'm gonna go ahead and request you guys regardless. I think that's what's gonna happen to me. Yeah, I mean, like I think the beauty of this game is you don't have to take advantage of every single situation that's presented to you. And that's fine. If you could have just got to level 60, that would have been a great goal, Zen. Actually, that would have been a great goal. Because 60, it gives you the 60,000. And if you use a bunch of orbs and you use one of those units that gave you the bonus, then you would get more than 6,000. I think you would have got 6,005. No, you would have got 7,500. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, Vado, I get what you're saying. Okay, I get it now. I get what you're saying. So you're saying when you're joining multiplayer, that's when you're going to run into issues, right? Yeah, I get that. So then my suggestion is you just need to host your rooms and essentially get people to carry you. Like, I think during one of my streams a couple of weeks ago, we had a viewer that came in and wanted us to carry her through the raid, like to get to a certain level in the raid, and we did that for her. So if you were contemplating about that battle, you could do that. You could come in the stream and see we can get you farther than you would by yourself, or like you have some sort of specific goal in mind, then we can do that, right? Because there are a lot of good players. I keep telling people I learn more about this game when I stream a lot of times than when I play. And so the way I look at it is like, take the advantage of the streams and see if you can come in and do that. Like, try to find yourself a goal, ideal, like a realistic goal, right? If you don't have the right units to get to level 100, chances are the other 3 people are probably not going to be able to do that either, right? You just try to find yourself a realistic goal. Say, for example, Zen said he couldn't beat 60, but I'm pretty sure if you came in here during the time of a last raid and you wanted to get to, and you want to clear 60 and get the extra medals, you could have definitely had the people help you out in here. And the beautiful thing about this game is the fact that even if you don't do something that week, you have the opportunity to either gain that same item that you want later on, or the events will eventually make a return. Now, I think given what's going on in the last couple of weeks, the game hasn't been put out a lot of stuff, suggests to me that that might be something going forward in the future. This pandemic is not going to end anytime soon. So the fact that people have to wear masks, people have to maybe work from home, maybe the company have to cut their budget because they're not making as much money as they'd like to, it's a possibility we might see a lot more reruns than normal. It's a possibility that we might see not a whole lot of new content for a lot of games that we play. And that's the new real world. This is the new world that we have to deal with. This is no longer, pre-2020, We have to think in that term. We have to think moving forward in the future. Every company is feeling the heat. Every company is feeling this. And so we have to kind of think of it that terms, that we have to be prepared, in other words, that there will be weeks that are just super slow. I'm actually really surprised that during the height of the pandemic, we were getting so many options in War of Division. We were getting so many options to do so many things. But I think a lot of it has to do with the idea they already had those things done. They were going to just lay out that content in accordance to their calendar. And now now that they have exhausted that content, perhaps, they're essentially forced to perhaps either do a lot more reruns or just kind of cut and paste, right? I really feel like the Duane was probably a cut and paste job for JP, because they really don't have any other things to add at this point, perhaps. And that makes sense, because Duane is in the world of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. He was like a meme character, supposedly, in that game. And so the response to him was that it was very interesting that he was released, in this game. People thought that was an interesting release. But nevertheless, it doesn't make any difference, because I don't own either of those units. Yeah, Umbra definitely talks a lot of stuff. I actually stopped watching him a long time ago, not because I don't enjoy his stuff or anything. He is a JP content creator before a global content creator. So essentially I was watching him and Cabbage and whatever other JP players like Madation. I think I was watching him for a little bit just to kind of get a grasp of what's going on the JP servers. But I've slowed down quite a bit in terms of watching the JP content because I didn't want to convolute my own brain in terms of what was going on a different server that had no revelation on our server, you know? Because I'm not one of those guys who plan things too far ahead. I'm actually quite the opposite. I'm one of those dudes that likes to react to what is presented in front of me. So the only really information that I go for now is every Sunday morning, I look up, actually not Sunday morning, excuse me, every Monday morning, I look up what's coming on Global, and I kind of make my assessment of what I want to do for that week in terms of content and cover what I feel like is relevant. So I'm more of like, I try to cover current content, or excuse me, current event type of player. Like I look at what's right now, and I don't think too much about what's happening, you know, in April. I can care less what people are trying to tell me what's coming up in April. You know what I'm saying? Like I know a lot of players do like those type of videos, and they do like to plan ahead and things of that nature. I don't. You know, it doesn't bother me. Like, because I know at any given moment they could change that content and essentially throw a big loop in your plans. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have to slow down quite a bit because their staff is probably limited. You know, to me that makes the most sense at this point in time. So in my opinion, Zen, if you have 2 keys, I wouldn't use them now because those are probably all brutal quests. So if you don't have the proper units to farm, you unlocking them and you can't farm them, you essentially just wasted them. And I think that's the unfortunate part about gacha games, right? Because I think people look at content a little bit differently, perhaps, for these type of games, comparatively to other type of games. Because if you think about it, like, essentially all we get is new chapters opened up, and then we'll get some sort of event in which we're farming for something. That's essentially content for gacha games. That is the formula. And that's always been the formula. When you're playing games like, I gotta be careful here because I don't want to, like, you know, step over my own boundaries. But for example, let's talk about, talk about Breath of the Wild, right? Let's talk about Zelda. If they were to create more content for Zelda as add-on, essentially they're opening up new content in terms of continents, or like new castles or new creatures you have to fight, or maybe extensions of the storyline, right? Because the storyline in Zelda is very definitive, very short, and very like to the point. Whereas gacha games is endless because there are so many characters. As long as they keep introducing new characters, they technically speaking have new content. All they have to do is release some sort of event in relations to that character. Therefore, boom, you got a whole week's of content. It's like that for every gacha game I ever played, right? But the thing is, if they release actual content in terms of like brand new mechanics, brand new things, kind of like the porcelain tower that we just mess with. Let's say they release a brand new content which we can farm like some kind of tower, you know, and we have to, you know, utilize certain restrictions, like you can only bring water units or something insane like that. Then that's the type of content that maybe is refreshing for player base. But not everybody cares about those type of content because those type of content is very restrictive, that not everyone can actually accomplish it. So for me, the way I look at it is it doesn't incentivize the companies to release that kind of content at this time. There's no reason to. The game is still doing very well. As long as they release new banners, they're gonna make money, and ultimately that's what this game is all about. just making lots and lots of money trying to sell you like units, right? That's it. Are you not curious as a player to know what's ahead? I am curious. I sort of keep it somewhere in my brain that I know potentially what's coming up. And believe you and me, I have plenty of players that remind me what's coming up. Like when I do streams, sometimes people remind me, oh, by the way, in 2 weeks, we're getting this unit. In 4 weeks, we're getting this vision card. At least according to how the JP timeline is. But lately, I'm noticing more and more that we're not necessarily following that timeline. For example, no one has predicted Little Leela to be injected this week. Am I right? No one. It wasn't on the radar. No one predicted Little Leela and Halloween Ryu would be returning this week. That's why it was such a big surprise. So what will be the point of me saying, hey guys, next week we might be getting something? All essentially means is you're creating a hope that it could be there, but in actuality it could be taken away from you at any given moment. The game says, no, we're not releasing that one unit you guys all thought it was coming. We're releasing something else. And that has actually already happened several times. So by that happening, those content creators who are creating content saying, be prepared for these things to come, all they're doing is just mapping out what could be happening. It's not actually mapping out what will be happening. And essentially they're setting up themselves to fail, because if it didn't happen according to what they said, then essentially how can they be reliable anymore? I don't watch those people anymore, by the way. I don't watch any of those videos because I realized that's just hearsay, right? As in the court of law, like Judge Judy always say, that's just hearsay. That's just someone saying something. That's not official. Unless it's official released by the companies, then to me, it's just content in the sense of, what's the word here? It's just content in the sense of entertainment. It's not actually reliable or source. So yes, I do plan, I do think about it. Like for example, we knew eventually Final Fantasy X is coming, right? We know this for a fact. Like we all know Final Fantasy X is coming. The only question I have is it gonna come during 1 year anniversary, or is it gonna come before, or is it gonna come after? We don't know. We really do not know this fact other than the people who work for Gumi. So in that sense, I already planned in a grand scheme of things. Yeah, I only won Titus. I don't think I won Yuna. I don't think I won Orion, sorry. And that's it. That's essentially my planning. Like, you know, like what's the point of sitting down and kind of stress out about, I need to save 500,000 Visiors or 100,000 Visiors or 75,000 Visiors for Luna or Yuna, sorry. And I want to get her so bad. And you're just stressing yourself over and over that that's the one unit that you're set dead on to get. And guess what happens? When the time does come, a lot of people are going to be sad because they're not going to get Yuna perhaps, unless it's guaranteed. Or they spend way too much Visiors trying to get that unit and they get upset. That is something I actually personally dealt with. I would say probably for the first 4 or 5 months of playing this game. Then I told myself, no, I'm not going to think that way. Just kind of like have a broad scheme of what you want to go after and set yourself a budget, and then that's it. Don't think about it ever again. Like if you don't get her or don't get him, it just wasn't really what it is. Unless you're willing to spend a lot of money, then this conversation is moot point, right? Because it doesn't really matter. You can just spend $500, $1,000 and get the unit that you want. But we all know a lot of players don't spend money. So realistically speaking, you can only plan so much, is my point. I say this every single week. I say it every single week. You know, it's like, I thought about it, like those content is very popular. They get a lot of views, but it's just, I watch it, if I was to watch it, it's just entertainment. It's just somebody telling me potentially what's coming in April or May or June. But what does that really mean to me? Nothing, because it's not going to change my spending habits. It's not going to change about me thinking about if I'm going to obtain a unit or obtain a vision card that I want. And most of the time, if they give me a vision card, I think about it. Like, is it gonna change my account? Like, for example, the most recent vision card is the Typhoon, or Typhon, however you want to pronounce it. I was like, wait a second, this makes Halloween Leela a little bit stronger. And I use Halloween Leela quite a bit. So for me, it made sense for me to spend that visual on that card. But if I didn't have Halloween Leela, I would have never summoned for that thing. Because later on, I'm pretty sure I will get that vision card somehow, right, for free. How is the little Leela Typhoon combo? It's pretty good. Like, I fought against her with the card in Guild Wars Champion 1 quite a bit, and a lot of times it just straight up, they just dodge. They just miss. I just miss. And the only thing I could say is it literally makes or breaks that fight, because if you miss too many times, all your opportunity of landing hits, it's gone, and then most likely you've already lost the battle. So it does make a big difference. But the only other thing I could say is you need to really go for evasion as a build for your team rather than just that one card and her. It's not enough, if that makes any sense. The more evasion you stack, you're gonna get to a point where your opponent needs a certain amount of dexterity to hit you. You know, that's when it becomes a very troublesome situation. And our guild has been discussing the idea that evasion is essentially what we're facing in Guild Wars, that we're having issues with, because that's where a lot of the high-end content combat situations is resorting to, evasion. Because now you have Halloween Little Lita to be very obnoxiously dodgy. You have Rosa that can be very evasive. Then you have some of the hard-hitting units like KOR Stern, who is very evasive now, alongside with, say, Duane, who can be obnoxious. And then you have essentially any other units that has the innate built-in ability of being evasive. They're very hard to deal with because, one, they deal tons of damage. Literally, that's a very high powered supportive unit. So that combination, you're kind of already asking for a lot, right? Because Guild Wars, you have to prepare for the day. You don't know who you're going up against. So essentially, you need to have units that has guaranteed hits. You need units that have high accuracy, and you need units that have high survivability. Wow, there aren't too many of those. There aren't too many of those around. So Guild Wars can be very troublesome, in my opinion, right now. Very, very troublesome. We don't see a lot of Ketone or Venero. We actually just see... So essentially what I see in the Guild Wars as of late is they concentrate on one unit to kill you. They concentrate on one unit to kill your team. In this case, it will be KOR Stern. And then what they do is the other two units get a little bit extra boost in terms of evasion. But the goal is to have those two units support that one unit to kill your team. And that most of the time is KOR Stern. The other, I guess you could say the other meta would be range units. Range units are very obnoxious because they're fast, like Frederica and Nivlu. They're very, very fast. So one of the combinations I see is they have one tank and those two units that I mentioned, and they just sit there and just keep taking turns pecking at your guys from a range, and they just kill you. I think the good combination with that team is actually Duane, right? Because Duane likes to get to the front very quickly, and if he can disable your two front units, essentially the match is essentially lost. And Duane, a couple of Duanes that I lost to, they're so tanky for some reason. I just couldn't get enough hits through to kill that Duane by the time I start dealing with the two range units in the back. And I remember this one fight, it was this Duane, it took forever to kill. Like, I took like 30 turns to kill the Duane. But at this point, their two gunners has already did devastating damage to my team. And I think I was down to just my Agrias. And finally Agrias started engaging the two gunners, and she managed to kill one of the gunners, but ultimately lost due to the speed of that last gunner. So I lost the match. I gained 2 points, but essentially they did a perfect job of defending against me because I wasn't allowed to attack another team. So, you know, that doesn't help my guild in terms of guild wars. So that's the high end, in my honest opinion. The high end right now is KOR with tons of support for dodge, right? And then, of course, Little Leela, Halloween Leela, with the Typhoon card, essentially makes her a perfect support for a evasive team in terms of guild wars. I know that was a long storytelling, but that's what I'm seeing. I think Auron J is doing an excellent job in terms of helping the community with the Guild Wars meta, and he keeps doing like these report videos. Yeah, Vanguard and 2 support. That's a very powerful combo. I did not do class match. PvP is not my thing. Like, a lot of people know I don't do PvP, so I don't ever cover class match. Every time they release class match information, I skip it during news because it's not something I do. So I always use the reference, like, it's like me telling people how to do neurosurgeon when I'm not a neurosurgeon, and it doesn't make sense. Vito, is that you? Are you Vit971? Have you disconnected? Or are you just hanging out? But remember, Zen, this is like, I'm not trying to be like an elitist jerk or anything, but this is me playing in Diamond League, right? So we're in Diamond 2, Diamond League, whatever it is called. Diamond tier, whatever. So essentially, it's just, realistically speaking, it's probably a lot of spenders. So everybody has maxed out everything. I know, Vado. I wasn't trying to be rude. I just want to make sure that we kept running, we kept farming. So I'm not sure where you are, Zen, right now in terms of your guild battles. But what I said doesn't necessarily represent the meta, if you will, in other brackets, right? Like, for example, my free-to-play account, he is in a gold bracket. I think I'm in gold too. So a lot of times I just face against guilds that have just people who are probably beginners or people who are mid-game players where they don't have a lot of things maxed out. And you can tell based on their attack power and their magical power, and that's kind of sort of how you can sort of gauge that, you know, the power level. So a lot of times I just steamroll my opponents, and there have been situations where I get totally annihilated. And I'm not surprised because the free-to-play account is at its power level where it needs to be, where I only have a few vision cards maxed out in terms of UR, and I only have, say, it's been what, 10 months? So I have maybe like 10 or 12 UR units maxed out. And essentially that's it, you know? Like, my strategy is very simple. I use 1 supporting class and use 2 attackers, no tanks. And I just try to kill as fast as possible. And then if my units don't die, then just bring them back with heals. And if they do die, just use the healer to resurrect that one death. And most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, I do fairly well. But there will be times where I'm just outmatched, outclassed by opponents who have really good vision cards and really good gear. And that's the realistic of it all. This game is just about numbers, right? Numbers stacking on numbers. And most of the time you just have to realize you just can't defeat certain people. And other times you can crush others, you know? Because the game is all about time invested and time played. And that's fine. Everyone started in the bronze league. Everyone did. So and you're a beginning player. Just make sure you keep stay vigilant in building your team that you want to build. Like, keep building upon the team that you have instead of switching out teams, because trust me, it'll take you months before you can fully switch out teams and compositions. It will take forever to switch. Like that's the one thing I've learned. Like, I recommend Magic compositions for beginning players because it's a pretty solid composition to go with. But in order for like a super good Magic team, you will need a lot of investments in vision cards, especially when you get to the higher Guild War battles. And then you need to start investing in terms of raids to get those thermosas, whatever those are called. So yeah, it takes a lot of work to get a composition running in this game. And I think that's the rewarding aspect of this game. The work you put in eventually does come to fruition, and you can actually feel good about all the time and investment and the grind that you put into the game. Yeah, there's definitely some balance issues in terms of certain comps are more susceptible to other comps, and unfortunately that's what it is. So characters that you pick, it's kind of vital in terms of who you go up against. But that's why in Guild Wars it's not true PvP, because it's Fog of War PvP, right? You don't really get to see your opponents. It's kind of like you don't know who you're going against. And if you're going against hard counters against your team, most likely you're going to lose. Arena is the exact opposite. You as in the aggressor has the advantage. In Guild Wars is kind of like a hybrid. You only know one opponent. You actually know only one unit, and then maybe you can kind of guess what the other two units are. But essentially that's it. It's just a guessing game. So in class match, it's pure guessing game. You have no idea what you're going up against. So as you can see, that's how the PvP is designed in this game. It's actually very well thought out, right? If you choose to do certain part of the PvP in this game, at least you know what to expect going into those PvP situations. And I don't personally care for PvP because I think it takes way too much min-maxing, way too much work to be considered a badass in the game, if you will. And I never want to be a badass in this game. I just like to enjoy looking at my monster box of some of the characters that I have. I still dream about Chrono Trigger collaboration. I think a lot of people dream about Chrono Trigger collaboration. You know, and I think a lot of people dream about Final Fantasy X. And we're getting that. And I think I could venture to say almost everyone dreams about Final Fantasy VII. And hopefully we'll get that. Because I think the Final Fantasy VII, they announced a remake for PlayStation 5. So maybe during that time they'll give us Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, I know class match is enjoyable, but to me it's like a humongous time sink, you know. And honestly, I'm not one of those guys who prefer content that is limited time. You know, like, you know, you can only do battle during a certain time, and you have to put a lot of thought into it, and then a lot of it, like I said before, is guessing. So chances are you're most likely gonna be going up against a team that just destroys you, or you're just overrunning your opponent. And to me, that's not really great PvP. Like, if I want to see good PvP, I want to be able to see what my opponent's putting up against me, and they should be able to see what I'm putting up against them. Kind of like the new formula a lot of companies are using is essentially you put up a team and they put up a team, right? For example, let's say I put up 6 units and your opponent puts up 6 units, but we don't get to see what they're equipped with. All we get to see is the 6 units. Now we have the ability to ban units from the opposing team. So you put up 3 magic dealers and 3 physical dealers. I'm gonna go ahead and ban all of your magic team because I know I'm putting up 6 magic dealers. So then therefore, even if you ban 3 of my magic dealers, I still have 3 magic dealers. So I think that sense is a little bit more control. You have a little bit more control of who you fight, right? And that's kind of like where these type of gacha games, where they're considered hero collectors, are moving towards in terms of potentially going into esports. I made a video about that. Potentially this game has the possibility of doing esports as well if they want to go in that direction. And having the ability to ban your opponent's units and them doing the same to you gives you some control of how the fight is going to end up being. Now, they still don't have control over what equipment you equip and things like that, and I think that's okay. But ultimately, it's really just about being able to see what your opponents have and then go from there, you know. All right, but see, that's the way I look at it is I've never really been a PvP person. And I don't consider this game's end game to be PvP. Whereas the majority of the gacha games I've played my entire life so far has been involving end game as PvP. This game is not. It's not like that at all. Class match is a limited time event, right? You know this. So therefore, they want you to enjoy some content of this game that in your mind, you feel like it's end game for you. But for me, I always feel like the end game in this game is actually PvE. It's not PvP. Because in order to accomplish what you do in PvP, you must, I repeat, you must do the PvE. Even though right now they're swaying towards away from that by allowing you to buy the equipment outright for 2,000 visuals. If that continues, I don't know. That will be remaining to be seen. But, you know, this is one of those games where the bulk of the gameplay is PvE. You have to be farming constantly. Because in order for you to stay on par with PvP, you have to keep farming the new stuff they give to you in PvE. And that's the reality of it all, right? Raid is PvP, or excuse me, let's start over. Raid is PvE, Tower is PvE, all the new events, they're all PvE. Class match is the only PvP limited time event they ever run in this game. Guild Wars is a constant thing. And even if you fail at Guild Wars, it doesn't make any difference. A lot of time is just bragging rights, right? You feel good about yourself and your guild feels good about themselves. And then in terms of arena, and I always feel like arena is just something to do on the side. In fact, most of the time, I don't even do it anymore. On my free-to-play account, I rarely do it. I just kind of do it just to do it. I don't do it where I study my opponent anymore. I just click. I click and I'm done. I click, I'm done. I click, I'm done. You know, that's it. So yes, for me, I don't really enjoy the PvP because there's things that I see in the PvP aspect of this game. It doesn't really offer me anything new. It doesn't offer anything new in terms of excitement, so I don't do it. But I know I can always be creative when it comes to PvE. I have ultimate control when I'm playing PvE content. And I think that's where I still get the joy of playing this game, honestly. Like, ability to conquer brutal modes, you know, if I feel like doing it, it still allows me to have control over it. It still allows me to feel good about it when I finally finish it. And at the same token, that's also where the frustration comes. Is PvE. It's not PvP. When I lose in PvP, all I know is I just get crushed or I crush them. That's it. That's all I know. And if I have a close match, you know, it has a little bit of excitement, but that excitement quickly dissipates, you know, in my mind. Like I don't dwell on it. I used to dwell on it a lot. I used to get really mad when I lose in PvP. Then I realized there are a lot of players that are better than me. There are a lot of players who spend more money than me. And it wouldn't be right if I was beating them. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's my justification for it. That's me in arena. I know, I've gotten to that point too. Honestly, I just kind of click on this guy. All right, this guy maybe look like I have a chance to beat them, and click. And then last night I had my win streak broken. I was like on a, I think I would like to say, what's today? Friday? So I was on like a 20-something game win streak, and this one team I thought I was gonna just cruise. They actually defeated me and ended my streak, and I'm like, well, that sucks. Back in the days, I would probably throw in a fit if I would have lost, you know. And I'm okay. I'm very I'm very accepting of my situation right now. Hey, at least you're honest. You're like, I'm still getting mad. Yeah, I mean, you know, we all have to go through those emotional phases, you know, like, it's okay to get upset, you know, like if you feel like the match should have gone your way. But sometimes it's just the way it is, you know, it doesn't always go your way. And you just have to be okay with that, you know. It shows you if you really know the different class or not. Yeah, I agree. Like PvP is definitely, I feel like PvP, you definitely have to know your units. You have to know the strategies behind those compositions. You have to understand the game a lot. Whereas PvE, you know, there's no human control aspect. It's just computer. It's just AI, right? And most of the time it's just programmed. It's programmed that they just react to a certain combination of moves. Whereas a human being is like chess. You never know. They could be making like a crazy crucial mistake and you just win. Or they're just better than you every step of the way and there's no way you can get around it. We're gonna do 5 more runs and then I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I got a long day ahead of me tomorrow. We're going to a friend's house for late lunch, I think. So we got a long day happening tomorrow. Yeah, status ailments is definitely one of my enjoyable parts of RPGs. You know, like you said, like a blind can be very devastating, can change the entire course of the battle. And that right there is very rewarding. If you can land some debuffs on your opponents, you can potentially just win the game, win the match. In PvE, it takes a little bit more than that, right? We know it takes a little bit more than that. Especially like the tower, like you have to do a little bit more. You have to do a little bit more planning. And you have all the time in the world to plan in PvE, but in PvP, like in match play, I don't know if there's a countdown meter. I imagine there is. But you have to do a lot of practicing, preemptive thinking, preemptive planning. I could definitely see class match as like an end game for many players. I could definitely see that in terms of perception of the game, right? Like I can see that happening, period. Like a lot of people love that part of it. It's the reason why we play competitive anything. I used to play competitive a lot of things, but I quickly learned I'm not really good at it. I'm not good at a lot of things. And so as long as you understand and accept that fact, then you can kind of move on with your life. I used to play fighting games. I used to play like card games, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, those type of things. And I love to play, like, I guess when I start playing gacha games, I enjoy some PvP, but then I quickly learn I don't enjoy it at all. I don't enjoy it at all. You're looking at, that is interesting for you to say that, well, otherwise, why all this suffering? I mean, I still stand by the idea that sometimes grinding is fine, you know? Grinding is okay. Like, there should be a level of acceptance of how much you grind in a game. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has their own tolerance level of how much they can grind. They can actually sit down and grind. You asked me if I use macros. I know a lot of people do, so. Run away from suffering. Hey, Second, how's it going? You've been a little late to the party tonight, huh? Hey, Ryan, how's it going? So apparently, the first hour of my stream, it was more or less me talking about the situation with the Duane situation. But it turns out we figured out as a collective whole that the community has essentially told ourselves that they're exclusives. And then we found out they're not exclusives. Turns out the companies never used the word exclusives, but content creator used the word exclusives. And normal folks who just enjoy content for this game use the word exclusives. And we thought there was a case for us to be angry at the companies for deceiving us with the release of Duane on the JP server. But as it turns out, they're not exclusives. So it was all fair game. It was all fair game. So that's what we learned. But yes, what is the change for 100 cost change in the JP? Are we talking about the exact same thing, or is there something going on where all I know is they lower the cost of Duane on JP? That's the only thing I know. Or at least that's the only new information that I learned tonight. Yeah, I skipped Duane too. I skipped Duane. I skipped Fryevia as well. Wow, that I didn't know. I mean, to be fair, Cabbage did touch up on the topic about how Japan is just essentially moving in a direction where every unit coming out is 100 cost units, right? You had Thick Thigh Rose, you had Mont, and I think Duane is also isn't Duane also a 100 cost unit? So he was saying literally all the units they have released lately are all 100 cost units. And he said he wanted to wait to see if that was going to be the trend the JP server was going, because that's going to make players really, really mad. But yeah, looks like that was the trend, right? You had essentially 3 consecutive banners that were all 100 cost units. But our topic of conversation started out, Ryan, was that a lot of us thought Duane was an exclusive unit on global, and that there seems to be warranting some anger from global players when we saw the JP was getting a release. But it turns out Duane is not a global exclusive. And so we spent a good 5 minutes going backwards to look up the words the companies used during times of Duane release. And then we used another good 5 minutes to go all the way back to the release of Fryevia, which apparently they did not use the word global exclusive either. So either they changed that, when no one was paying attention, or that was never the case in the begin with. I'm thinking the latter. It was never the case to begin with. They used the word original. So when they did that, people like me as a content creator, I was saying that they were exclusives. And I think everyone was using the word exclusive. And everyone, I mean everyone. And so what essentially it felt like was the idea that we all thought it was exclusives. And why are they all of a sudden releasing on JP? Because that doesn't make sense. But yes, it is quite sly that they use the word original, which gave them the opportunity to release any of those units on Japan. And to make the things worse, Fryevia never saw a release. So that probably just essentially made us keep thinking that Fryevia was a exclusive unit. And since Duane was released in the same way, we all thought Duane was going to be essentially an exclusive unit. Yeah, you're right. At second, that makes sense, because I was tempted to get angry, but then I started retracting what some of the stuff I was saying. So essentially it's like half-assed getting mad. But to be honest, we got to the bottom of it and we realized they were kind of like just using sly tactics by using the word original, even though there was never any corrections by anybody on the global side. And I believe Japanese players said the same thing, that Fryevia was exclusive for global, right? I swear I remember that. So we brought up the concept of the Mandela effect, about how a lot of us was having false memories. And as a result, essentially everyone was thinking of the same thing, when in actuality it wasn't the same thing. And so now going forward, I just have to be extra careful and using my words in terms of covering some of these news and covering some of these concepts. Hell, I even made a video about exclusivity on global, and it turns out that's not true at all, because global doesn't really have anything exclusive other than, I think, when they buffed global things. Like, for example, vision cards. When they buffed them, that's an exclusive, because that is not going to happen on JP, only on global, right? Because I said global buff, because it doesn't make sense if they only buffed on global and not buff on JP, because if they buff on JP, then it wouldn't be called a global buff. But of course, I could be just doing a self-fulfilling prophecy by telling myself that that's what it is, because I'm reading into more than what they're saying in the words. I don't know, man. I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference now, I think. Thank you, Vada, for coming, by the way. I think JP got the lower end of the stick in the situation. No offense to global players. They should have got Duane plus someone actually new. Yeah, I agree. I think if they did mention that it was just based on a poll of voting, then it was kind of weird either way. Well, I'm glad you guys came at the end of the stream to kind of give your insight on it, but I am going to end the stream. And sorry, JP, this is the last run, right? So I'm ending it because I have, like I was telling others, I have a long day tomorrow. So I got to get ready, prepare some stuff. We're going to bring some food. We're going to get up early. And so hopefully I will do a follow-up on a video, clearing the air, so to speak, for this situation. Hopefully the global community can catch up on it and maybe finally get my perspective that I do have responsibility as a content creator. And I do want to apologize if I, get into this situation about perpetuating the idea of the word exclusive. So again, I'm going to make a video next week. Hopefully that'll clear up the air. But I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'll see you guys next week. And hope you guys have a great weekend, okay? Don't let any of this stuff get you down. It is just a game, end of the day. You shouldn't let any of this shit bother you anyways. So, again, take care, you guys. Until next time, Nash Tater's out of here. Bye.